Hey everybody, Matt here from Matt's Movies, Music and More, and my special guest Andrew, welcoming you to this week's episode of What Did You Think? So if you saw our last episode on What Did You Think, you'll know that the Twister Spinner had picked the drama category for us, which the movie we talked about was the brilliant underrated crime thriller directed by Robert De Niro called A Bronx Tale.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and to replace A Bronx Tale in the drama category for the next Twister Spin, we have gone with American History X, which is a movie that stars Edward Furlong and Ed Norton. So I'll be looking forward to covering that one at some point. And so today's movie comes on the Twister Spinner, has been selected for superhero. So to replace this movie on the next spin, we have picked not a Marvel, not a DC movie, not any other comic book studio, but we have picked the 1991 Sam Raimi movie, Dark Man. How do you feel about that?
So that's all I know about that is that it's Liam Neeson.
Yes.
Kind of before Liam Neeson became the name that he is.
Yes, yes.
In so many ways.
Yeah. So that's going to be a fun one to do. So on with today's movie. Today's movie we are doing is the 2000 movie, The Specials, which is directed by Craig Mazin, and it stars in this ensemble cast Rob Lowe, Thomas Haden Church, Paget Brewster, Jamie Kennedy, Judy Greer, and James Gunn. Partly the reason why we picked to talk about this movie. So, The Specials. Had you known anything about this movie before it came up on the Twister Spinner?
No, can't say I had. But
you have me to blame for this. I picked it.
Yes, we do. But it's interesting we should pick and talk about this. Firstly, thank you for not going for any obvious low-hanging fruit like Marvel or DC, or at least not today. But also, without wanting to sound too topical and dated, it's funny to think of where James Gunn is now, because what happened to him recently with the whole tweeted some inappropriate things back then, and being called out on it and then getting fired by Disney, that to anybody else, to anybody that would be that, well, that's the end of your career then. But partly at least because the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy said we won't do any more movies without him as a director. That's how much we value him. But so not only is he doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but in the meantime he's doing the Suicide Squad sequel, or is it a reboot?
I think it's reboot.
Or does anyone really care? But also, I've yet to see this at the time of recording, but I do intend to talk about it on my own series at the Movies with Andrew. He produced Brightburn, which is due to come out in cinemas soon enough, based on the premise of, I'm amazed he hasn't been sued for this, what if Superboy was a mass murdering psychopath? So clearly he's got a thing for superheroes, of which this is his earliest example.
Yeah, because in this he's not only wrote the film, but he also stars in it as a character as well. So, can you describe the best you can with this movie?
The best you can. In a world where superheroes exist, we have the 6th or 7th best superhero team in the world, the Specials, led by husband and wife team, the Strobe, Thomas Haden Church, and Mrs. Indestructible. They've got people on their team already like Mr. Smart and the Weevil, yeah, and Minute Man,
which he
is Minute Man,
not Minute Man.
As everyone go, oh, Minute Man. That's not my name, but it's spelt like that. No, it's not.
That's played by James Gunn.
That's the James Gunn character, but they're welcoming a new recruit into their group, Nightbird, who's been a big fan of them ever since she was a girl. She's a girl with bird powers, and that's all we know about her. In fact, we'll get into this, but all we know about their powers is what they talk about themselves in conversation and what they say. But they're welcoming a new recruit, which is all good, and also because they really need the publicity and the attention, a new range of toys based on them is about to come out that evening, and they're going to have a big press conference, a big unveiling of these toys, and we'll get the royalties from these toys, and this will help push our image, which we sort of need, but they don't say it. The Strobe, the leader, is quite proud and serious and stoic about how we are an important team and how everyone feels otherwise about this. But over the course of the evening that we see in this film, the press conference will go wrong. Other things amongst the specials will go wrong, and because of this, they will find themselves questioning their place in the world and if the world really needs them, considering there's like 5 other teams above them.
That's your way of describing it.
Is that the best? Well,
because the way it's shot and the way it's done, it's very documentary.
This is presented in the style of a documentary, so we keep cutting back to them talking about themselves.
So it's kind of Spinal Tap, What We Do in the Shadows, kind of documentary style. And you see that, as you said, the movie is essentially based around the Strobe, played by Thomas Haden Church.
He's the leader of the group.
His real name's Ted, and basically he and his wife, who's played by Paget Brewster, she's Miss Indestructible, or Emily, her name is. They're running the specials as the brand from their own house. It's not like a proper, like a superhero like mansion or island or anything like that. It's just like a little house in the suburbs.
It's a bloody suburban house, which. Yeah.
So then you've got all the people that are involved in it, like the Weevil, who is played by Rob Lowe, who's kind of he's the most popular, maybe because of his good looks and stuff like that. I don't really know what his skill is, but that's kind of what it is. And you've got Jamie Kennedy, who plays Amok, who's kind of like this blue kind of demon, and apparently it's referred to that he used to be on the bad side.
He used to be a villain, but then he got brought over to specials, even though he's got a foul-mouthed bad boy attitude. It's funny to look at this and realise that this was about 4 years before X-Men 2 and Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Although you suppose blue makeup, you could say X-Men came out, but that was around the same time, or if not slightly after this.
Yeah. And then you got like Minute Man, played by James Gunn, which, as it's mentioned in the movie, is that Minute Man and the Strobe were the two that put the specials together. They were the original founders of this superhero team, and Nightbird is in real awe of these superheroes, but she doesn't understand why this all they care about is about making money and not doing the right thing. Because there's like one team of characters in this, which is, are they called 9? It's 9 different people, but with one brain. So basically, when one of them's talking, the other will resume the conversation. So that's really quite unique. But it's funny, isn't it? Because when you're watching this, you've got characters in it like Mr. Smart, who invents this weird thing that helps him with breathing in all these weird smells and stuff, and he can't get it off, and it ends up getting ripped off his face by accident. He's like, all you need to do is pull it here. And because one of the dumb characters, whose name is Zip Boy, he's played by Barry Del Sherman, he's kind of this dumb person. He's like, oh, where does water come from? He goes, oh, water comes from the toilet here and stuff like that. He's trying to show Nightbird around the place and stuff, and he's like, all you need to do is pull these levers nice and gently. He goes, you mean these ones? Ah, my nose! And
he has to wear something over his face for the rest of the.
Yeah, he's wearing like is it a woman's?
Unfortunately, it is a sanitation towel.
Yes. And then you've got I think it's James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, who plays like this alien character. It's like a green. He looks like a normal person, but he's a green painted alien. And then you've got Power Chick, who is this gay superhero that looks after the alien. And obviously you've got Deadly Girl, played by Judy Greer, who is kind of like, she doesn't like anybody, although it looks like her and Minute Man, played by James Gunn, obviously, that they have the chemistry together. But as you watch the movie, you find out that the Strobe is really a big self-centered ego person, really, isn't he? Because all he cares about is himself.
Yeah.
And Miss Indestructible is having an affair, which we won't say with who, but it's someone in the team already.
Yeah.
And so to have a superhero team like this, especially when some of their superheroes are already being touted by other superhero teams, such as the Weevil, played by Rob Lowe, he's being wanted by another superhero team, which is quite interesting because the actor that's trying to recruit him is Michael Weatherly, who's famous now for NCIS as Agent Lenozo. So I like the fact that I saw him in this. But what do you think of the ensemble cast of this movie?
They're cute. They do well with the material given, at least, or the conversational style of the film. It's interesting to see James Gunn in an acting role, and Paget Brewster, I personally only know as Huey, Dewey, and Louie's mum in the DuckTales cartoons.
I thought she was very good in this
too. She
too.
was very good, but I think what drew my attention was probably Rob Lowe as the charming Weevil, but also especially Thomas Haden Church with his whole shtick of being this serious. I am going to tell our new recruit about my origin story. Please don't tell us your origin story.
We've heard it so many times.
No, I think we should take a vote. Who wants to hear my origin story? It's a deeply tragic, very inspirational tale that I think you should all hear. That's five people. So I wanted to hear the story.
Yeah, the dumb one's one of the ones who puts his hand up, isn't it, as well, yeah. But when he's mentioning it, you would assume that a movie like this would cut to, like, flashbacks, but it doesn't. So we have no idea if the specials really have superhero powers because it's not shown. Until
the very, very end of this movie,
yes.
At which point you can really tell that this is it's all fairness. This is an independent movie, and it must have cost very, 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 very little to make.
But do you think the casting was very good in it, given Thomas Haden Church's performance? I think he's outstanding.
Yes.
And I can now see why he was cast eventually in a superhero movie, Spider-Man 3. Albeit not a great film, but he was very good in it, I felt.
Also, he had a minor part in the new Hellboy movie.
Oh, really?
That's all I want to say about it.
Wow.
Apart from, I love you, Lobster Johnson. You see it for yourself.
See, but with Thomas Haden Church's performance, this was the first movie I ever saw him in, but it kind of made me think a little bit of the character that Greg Kinnear plays in Mystery Men. Very sort of similar, where he's like, I am the lead superhero and I will defend this planet. Whereas the others are like, yeah, we've heard that a million times, haven't we?
Yeah.
But no, I thought this was very interesting movie. It's very different to other superhero movies because, like you say, you don't really see much of the superheroes, and it's all about the commercial marketing, such as the hilarious toy presentation.
Yes, it was funny. It certainly. In many ways, this is a movie that I feel the humour you could see in a current Marvel superhero movie, and yet at the same time, year 2000, and I don't think there's been a movie like this that talks about superheroes in this casual, offbeat, obscure way, especially since just. Don't demonstrate rambling here, sorry, but demonstrating my limited comics knowledge. There is an actual group called the Great Lake Avengers, and they have a similar shtick of we're a great superhero team, even though the Avengers won't officially recognise us, and we just live in a suburban house, and all we have is the fat one and the tall one, and their only high-profile superhero, kind of like they only have one high-profile superhero, is Squirrel Girl. She can talk to squirrels. And at one point, they just let her do all the superhero acts because they're no good themselves, until she says, right, I'm leaving. And then they go, oh, crap.
Mm.
So it's a similar thing. It makes me wonder if that was influenced by this, or whether there is an inbuilt desire to tell a story like this, whether it's in film or in comics.
The good thing about this movie is, I suppose, it doesn't mention the Marvel or DC at all. It's its own universe. So there's no references as to like, oh, we could be as good as the Justice League, or we could be as good as the Avengers. There's nothing like that at all.
Maybe because they had to do it like that because copyright. But
yeah, but what did you think of it, really? I mean, for what it is.
Well, this sure is a special movie. That's the only joke I have for this.
I take it that's sarcasm, but
well, yeah. I've mixed feelings about this. It's due to the scope of this movie, which isn't its fault. I do appreciate the conversational, jokey approach of it, and I appreciate the odd joke, like, what was it about? We want. People like stretchy powers, and lots of people from this area got stretchy powers, but that was because of radiation, and then they all died.
Yeah. But the toy scene I thought was quite funny, because the company that's made these toys, they know nothing about the special. So you've got one character who's like, "You made me black."
Yeah, it's.
And one of them is like, oh, we got some leftover heads from one of the previous toys that we made and stuff like that.
And their mortal enemy, the fridge.
Yeah, and then like a mock is like, my character's got no dick. You know, it's so funny.
And Miss Indestructible's got huge breasts, which obviously the bad boy appreciates.
Yes. But you have to look at this movie really as an important stepping stone in James Gunn's career, because if it wasn't for this, I don't think James Gunn would have got the opportunity to make another superhero movie sometime down the line called Super. I don't know if you've seen that at all. It's a movie with Rainn Wilson. I'm aware of it. I'm sure I saw the poster for it once. Basically, that movie is kind of like Kick-Ass, but in my opinion, I felt was a better movie than Kick-Ass. Less of a budget. Less fighting, but more believable, someone wanting to be a superhero, and you know, you just see that really they're just a vigilante wearing a costume, you know, to try and fight and do good deeds. But no, obviously James Gunn's gone on to do huge and better things over the years, like his big break I think came, was it 2007 with Sliver? Is it Sliver you call it? The one with the weird, like, sort of parasite things that land on from another planet. Have you seen that one? That is a movie. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it. It's all right for what it is. And then obviously go on to do Super, and then subsequently then gets to do the big superhero movie, and probably many people's favourite in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, it's a favourite at least, and it's a movie with a talking raccoon and a tree person, and a comic based on a comic that not many people would have heard of. So it totally needed an offbeat, out of left field approach like James Gunn do it, and obviously that worked. And that's why I see similarities with this movie and Guardians of the Galaxy regarding its dialogue and conversation. It's kind of like a superhero version of Clerks, where it's kind of, it's all talk and not really much more. That is a very good way of putting it now that you've done so. Yeah, that's how I saw it back in the day when it came out, because the reason why I picked the specials was I didn't think you'd have seen it. I remember it coming out in my local video rental shop back in the early 2000s, and I checked it out thinking, oh, it's got Rob Lowe in it. Must be good if Rob Lowe's in it. And obviously I've seen a lot of Rob Lowe's later movies and not so much. But I watched this one and I was like, It's quite funny for what it is. It's nothing special, but I keep saying that pun, don't I? But no, for what it is, it's okay. It was interesting to read that it's produced by Mark Altman. Now, the reason why I mentioned him is because I'm a big fan of a movie that he produced, I think 2 years prior to this, which I would definitely hope to do on Matt's Movies at some point, whether it's a What Did You Think, I don't know. And that is a movie called Free Enterprise, in which it's about William Shatner playing a fictional version of himself when two Star Trek fanboys get together and they go, that's William Shatner, that's Captain Kirk. Oh, I bet he's a load of fun. And William Shatner is nothing like they hoped he would be. And that's what's quite fun about that movie. And that's based on like an autobiographical. Whether that's something you'd want to do, I don't know. But, you know, that's what I found was interesting about this movie, the fact it was produced by them. But, like I say, I don't think this would have got a theatrical run in America. I mean, it says on Wikipedia that this movie took less than $13,500. So either that's a very limited theatrical run, or I don't know.
I think by its very nature as a small-scale independent film, it wouldn't have played in as many cinemas as like Star Wars Episode 1 or The Matrix, which, let's remember, or would X-Men have come out by this time?
Same year.
Do bear in mind that all these were around the same time as this and would have easily overshadowed this.
Yeah, but the fact it's got decent actors, Jamie Kennedy, Thomas Haden Church, Rob Lowe, and all these other people, that's good talent there.
Yeah.
So clearly there was a budget for them to be involved. They must have probably taken scale, I'm guessing, to star in this movie.
Yes.
Given that it's an ensemble cast, but it does feel a little bit too long in places. But there were some characters you liked, some you didn't see enough. I felt the Weevil, played by Rob Lowe, I just felt you didn't see enough of him.
Yeah.
And yet he's on the poster at front and centre. You think it's him that's going to carry this movie, when in fact it's Thomas Haden Church.
Well, it's funny you should say that I feel like it was long. Was it in the sense that that it dragged in places for you, certain scenes?
It felt that some scenes were just pointless. Some scenes weren't needed. And it would have been interesting to have seen more behind the scenes and more about certain characters. Because, I mean, the character of Nine I thought was interesting. The one with this whole, 9 different people, but one subconscious shared between all of them. That's quite unique.
Yeah.
Never seen that before in a superhero movie.
Because I was going to say that this movie felt very short to me, or the lack of plot, or the lack of stuff going on did kind of show, and that the ending, without saying what it is, it kind of just stops.
Yeah, that's how it feels. It just stops.
It's like they couldn't carry on with the premise anymore, so they have to suddenly go, oh, this is happening now we're going to go off now, bye, and we have to quickly come up with a line of dialogue to resolve this problem. And
yeah, you might be right. I mean, I just think certain scenes did drag a little bit. It would have been nice to have seen more of them, their sort of the past. I mean, you see one scene which is really from the past, which is Strobe and Miss Instructable's wedding, and you see the gang of the Specials together, and you sort of see them mingling and stuff. But I would have liked to have seen more goings on, like with their personal lives. Like when you see a mock, you get the feeling that a mock is a guy who he still wants to kill people. He still wants to kill. He still wants to go out and have sex and stuff.
We should rename ourselves the Fuck Yous or something.
Yeah. And then you've got like the bit where he's trying to hit on Power Chick, and she's like, "I'm gay," and he's like, "What the fuck?" And it's so odd, But I thought the casting was good in this movie. I kept getting confused when I saw the actor who plays Mr. Smart, whose name I believe is Jim Sullivan. Apparently he died a few years after making this movie, but I kept thinking he was the actor that played Otto in Beetlejuice. So I got that wrong completely.
Yeah.
Like, you see the similarity there?
A bit now that you mention it,
Yeah. But for what it is, I don't want to keep saying that pun, but, I've seen it a few times and it's okay. It's not outstanding. It's, I think, a product of its time, would you say?
Of that 1990s,
The late 1990s, 2000s, yeah. Where you can see where a certain movie, which we're hoping to cover on Matt's Movies at some point, called The Matrix, changed everything, and special effects became really great, and some of these late 90s, early 2000s movies, the special effects looked really bad.
It's suddenly, in comparison to this, yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm in agreement with you, is that in that yes, I appreciate the low-key quality is well, it's all they had to work with, and it's deliberate, and the actors carry it, and the conversational offbeat nature of it helps drive it forward. But in other respects, this is a early example of the genre, an early example of James Gunn's career, in the respect that everybody concerned went on to do better things, or more distinctive and outstanding things than this, or the kind of humour displayed here was refined and put to greater effect in, I have to say it, the Marvel movies.
Yeah, and given that, like I said, James Gunn wrote it, I mean, could you think that the Marvel films, and maybe Kick-Ass to some extent, may have been slightly influenced by the style of conversations that these characters have?
I wonder if it would have, because this is a small scale independent film, whether it would have been noticed. I mean, maybe it had a cult following I'm not aware of. I can see that, but I think there are other factors, like just the tone that the Marvel comics were going with at the time that the film started coming out.
And given that superhero movies now are pretty much the biggest industry in Hollywood at this moment in time, this one is largely forgotten.
Yes.
And I think that's a shame. There are other superhero movies that need to be forgotten. This one I don't think is one of them. That's my opinion.
In comparison to like something like Batman and Robin, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I've forgotten that one years ago.
Well, I'd say if you need to check it out, then it's not a long movie. It won't take up too much of your time.
If you want to see superheroes in action, then this isn't for you.
No.
This is more the inner workings of the 6th or 7th best superheroes in the universe.
The comedic thoughts of superhero duties and powers in a time when that sort of thing just wasn't considered.
Yeah.
As opposed to, it's like Tuesday for the Avengers or the Guardians to be having chats about something like this.
Yeah. So, yeah, anything else you want to cover about it?
Not that I can think of right now, but this movie truly is a word other than special.
Yeah, I apologise anyone out there who doesn't really want to see this movie, but I liked it for what it is, and I've seen it a couple of times actually, so seen it more than I've seen Batman and Robin, let's put it that way. Probably more than my audience. So, that's the specials, I guess.
Okay, yeah, right.
So, this is what you've been waiting for, the Twister Spinner. So, let's see what it's going to spin for the next one. It's landed on Matt's pick.
Okay, what have you got for us? You crazy bastard, you.
Well, hopefully it's better than the specials for you, because it's The Party, which is a movie starring Peter Sellers.
Oh, no, we're going for a classic.
Yeah, from 1968, yeah.
Okay.
So this one hopefully will be up your alley if you like the old Pink Panther movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do. So, yeah, I'm curious now.
Cool. So we'll be doing that in the next episode. So, So what did you think of the specials? Is it something that you guys will check out? Are you fans of James Gunn? You happy he's back doing Guardians 3? I definitely am. I think without him, Guardians of the Galaxy just doesn't work.
Well, there were rumours about getting the guy who did Kubo and the Two Strings and the Bumblebee Transformers spin-off movie. I don't know if that would have suited him, but having heard that, I want to see this guy do a superhero movie now.
Anything's possible. Yeah. Anything's possible.
But yeah, James Gunn is back and all is right with the world.
Yeah, and it took for DC to hire him to get Marvel to get him back.
Oh God, we can't have him on our side.
No, that's like supermarket competitions there, supermarket wars. So yeah, be sure to check out the official Facebook, Instagram and Twitter to find out all the upcoming stuff that we've got on the YouTube channel.
Travis Knight, not Pickle. That's like
Travis Bickle from Buddy Taxi Driver.
Yeah, why did I think that?
It's the De Niro in the brain. See,
yeah, that's true.
And don't forget to check out our other shows. We've got my solo videos, which go up on a Friday. We've got At the Movies with Andrew, which is monthly, comes up on a Sunday every now and then. And obviously we've got this show, What Did You Think? So be sure to get in contact with us all. And thanks everybody. And what would you like to say to close us out?
I think we've got a threat on our hands. So quick, get the 1999 CGI render computer ready and let's sue. Ta!
Goodbye everybody.